Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Spencer Michaud here at the Great Lakes Astrology Conference 2019 in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I have the honor of being joined by Miss Anne Ortelee, who is a veteran of the astrological community, a legend, if you will, and one of my favorite astrologers and people in the community. So welcome, Anne.
Thank you, Spencer. I'm very excited to be here. I think this is going to be great fun.
So you are from the East Coast.
I'm from the East Coast,
Right.
born and raised in Rochester, New York, upstate. And then I moved to New York City in 1976, 2 weeks after I graduated from college, and I've been there ever since.
Perfect.
And this June, I come up on my 40th year in the same apartment.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's rare.
I'm a fixed girl.
That's rare.
I know. It's rent stabilized in New York.
And has the rent stayed stable?
The rent's, no, it's very, I complained last year because it hit $1,200 and both of my assistants did the little violins.
Yeah.
Like we're really sorry for you. Yeah.
Right.
You know, so
So how many, over the years, how many cats do you think you've had at that apartment?
I have generally two a time, and I've had 9.
9. Because I know you're a Virgo
40
sun.
years. 40
I know you're a
years,
Virgo sun, right?
Right,
So
totally.
you got cats.
They always have small animals.
Right.
And dogs you have to take out and pick up their poop.
Yeah.
Cats, no problem.
I love cats. I
love cats.
I'm a cat person.
Yeah.
So
well, I had dogs upstate, but you opened the door and they went out, and then they came back in.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Whole different experience.
So you did a couple lectures and the keynote.
I know. I got asked my first keynote.
Perfect.
It was very exciting.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Sandra Lee and Richard asked me to do it, so I'm like, keynote, okay. And then they were like, challenging times, because we are having challenging times, as you all know, because you're having.
We're living it.
We're living it, right? So it was kind of like, I believe in optimistic astrology.
Sure.
That the energy is there and it's important, but it's also important for us to think of it not as bad or good, but just kind of say, okay, what am I supposed to do with it?
Yeah.
And, my parents are getting divorced. Oh my God. Oh, thank God they're finally getting divorced. It's like, it's the same energy.
Yeah.
So we've got this really intense energy asking us to restructure our lives and recreate a whole new reality in our world. It's not just here, but it's all around the world. So we're really seeing it as a bigger cycle that happens once every 36 years.
Sure.
It's pretty rare. And last time we had it was in 82, fall of 82, spring of 83. And before that, right after World War II,
in Libra,
1940, in Libra was 82, and in 47 was Leo.
Okay.
And so it's also about the structure of power, because Saturn's about structure and Pluto's about power. Right. So we're all restructuring our power dynamics.
Yeah.
And then there's also,
it's not fun.
It's not fun. And it's on the south node of fate.
Yeah.
So it's saying we're going to release the things that are wrong.
Right.
We're going to let go of the stuff you don't need anymore. And a lot of us
that can be fun though.
You like to release things.
Yeah.
There's people like me that have lived in the same apartment for 40 years going, I want to release. I don't want to release.
I have my moments where I have a Taurus moon and
I know.
I'm getting Uranus right now.
So you're getting like, okay, change.
I'm trying to roll with it, but there are certain things that I like to keep.
That you like to hang on. Yeah.
And it can be painful, but ultimately the way that I like to look at it is this is all part of a much larger cycle than I even am really aware of, even on the day-to-day.
Yes.
And I think that I like the point that you were making in your lecture about Saturn and Pluto, them being distant orbit planets.
Yes.
It's all about a huge, macrocosmic cycle.
Yes.
And we don't always
much bigger.
see. Yeah, we don't always see like the day-to-day. We may be experiencing suffering one day, but it may be the suffering that leads us to the ultimate good. Right.
Yeah.
So
well, and the analogy I use a lot of times, and essentially we're all having a Pluto transit right now, and it's asking us to transform our structures. So the analogy I use when a client comes to me with a Pluto transit is go, you're a little caterpillar, you're sitting on a leaf, and a thread's going to come out of your butt.
Oh no.
And then you're going to make a little cocoon, you're going to crawl in it, going to get all black and gushy. Then you're going to hatch. You're going to have wings. You're going to fly around. You're going to eat pollen.
Nice.
And you're a little caterpillar going, I'm flying around. I'm a little air sick. I don't know that I want wings. What are you talking about? But we've already seen the string come out of your butt.
Yeah.
And so now you're in the metamorphosis.
Well, I think.
And that's really what it's about. It's a metamorphosis. And so honoring that change and that energy of change really helps it much easier, because we have to get in the cocoon.
I mean, I love the fact that you are observing nature and bringing that into your astrology, because I think that, first of all, astrology is an observation of nature.
It is, yeah.
And I think if we
forget that.
if we connect with those things that we see every day,
Mm-hmm.
and we can, that's one of the things I think that's unique about human beings. And maybe it's not, it's just that we think it is,
Mm-hmm.
that we can kind of like imagine abstractions.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And we're aware of the fact we die.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We're aware of
that.
that.
Bummer.
Yeah. Well, but it's part of the the
I'm
reality.
sure dolphins probably do.
Yeah. The
too,
reality police. Yeah.
But I like that, and I think
Yes.
that grounding it
Mm-hmm.
in seeing the different cycles around you. I like to use like gardening metaphors a lot when I talk about things.
Yep.
And it's nice because even death as a metaphor, you can see that is just part of another cycle of rebirth also.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think that's one of the things I've been trying to keep in mind with all the changes happening, is this is actually, these are the birth pains.
Yes.
Right. This isn't just the letting go.
Mm-hmm.
This is the the new thing that wants to be birthed out of the channel.
Yeah. And there was a funeral I went to when I was younger. It was a really beautiful service. And they said, imagine that the person that you love has gotten in the boat and they're sailing. And as the boat goes over the horizon, you go, there they go. But there's people on the other shore going, here they come, here they come.
Nice.
So it's remembering it's that journey.
Yeah.
And it's a big one. It's a big one.
Yeah.
Which makes people really anxious because they really do feel, a lot of people are reporting just almost an instability in the ground beneath them.
Sure.
Because Saturn, Pluto, or Capricorn, which is rocks, and it's like the rocks are crumbling. So it's like, yeah, they are. You're going to be okay. It's a landslide.
Well, and to piggyback off of something you were touching on yesterday also, we have an elemental shift in the Saturn-Jupiter conjunctions, right? Which is the Hellenistic.
Every 20 years.
And the traditional astrologers really viewed those as the epochal changes in humanity, or in just life in general.
No, in humanity.
And we're moving from what? Earth?
We're moving from Earth, where we've been for 800 years, into air, where we're going to be for 800 years. So we're moving from physical into... Yeah. Think of the internet and the things that all fly around in the air.
We're in it now.
We're in it now. It's already happened.
Look at what we're doing. We're coming to you.
Hi, everybody. We don't know where you are, but you're watching us somewhere in the internet.
We're in your living room, coming to you through these ether.
And you could be sitting there eating popcorn or, hanging out with your cat. It's a wonderful thing.
And we're downloading our consciousness into your consciousness.
Yes, that's what's happening.
I think that the thing that really just shows that to me is just the way that we've described the internet as the cloud.
Yes.
I mean, that's the airiest thing ever, right? And I saw a talk by a very great astrologer named Ben Dykes.
Oh, I love Ben. He's amazing.
He's
like you want to crawl in his brain.
Yeah.
And kind of live there for a while,
He is so productive.
I know.
He's got
scary.
a new book coming out about Persian nativities, Abu Mashar again already.
Yes.
And he was talking about the mean conjunctions versus the actual conjunctions.
Oh,
and one
okay.
point,
Words. Okay.
Yeah, one point he was making is that he was doing an average of the conjunctions, and that average conjunction in air signs actually started around the early 2000s.
Yes, because of the John Lennon in Libra. It meant there was a mutation. It was Earth, and then in 80 it mutated into Libra.
Right.
So it had a little mutation, then went back to Capricorn. To kind of wrap up Capricorn, which was Taurus in 2000, and now it's in air for 800 years. Yeah.
Now we're in it to win it.
We're in it for 800 years. Get ready.
Well, that is very interesting, and I'm excited to see what kind of changes we're going to be going through together. I think that the thing that I've been imploring my audience is to, and you said this too, you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it all at once. You know what I'm saying? And
step at a time.
Practice your, the buzzword is practice your self-care.
Yes, practice and really do take good care of yourself because it's so hard.
You can get burnt out.
Yeah. And the other part is the planets are all in the sign of winter.
Right.
So they're in Jupiter and Saturn are in Capricorn, Saturn and Pluto are in Capricorn. Jupiter's going to get there. Neptune's in Pisces time, which in the northern hemisphere, not for your southern listeners, but this is winter, high winter. Darkness. And what we do in winter, we make stew, we sit on the porch, we read a book, we get ready for the next summer. And then in Pisces time, which is where Neptune is, we dream.
Yeah.
So it's really about dreaming the future while preparing for it,
Yep.
you know, and prepping. And so if we think that we're in winter, Saturn's going to be in winter signs for the next 21 years,
Right.
20 years now, because he's already spent a year in Capricorn, but he has still Aquarius and Pisces to go. And Pluto's going to be in Capricorn really for the rest of anybody that's watching this podcast that's alive today.
Yeah.
In 2019. If you're watching it in, you know, 2050, you know, maybe it's out of Capricorn, but it is, we're in the winter.
Yeah.
And we got 7 more years of Neptune and Pisces, which is winter.
Mm.
So we got a lot of winter, but winter is very productive. People
Yeah.
do poetry, they do music, they do singing, they prepare for the future.
And they rest.
And they rest.
You know, and they're resting and preparing in that cocoon cycle for the next birth.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So excellent stuff.
Yeah.
What else you've been speaking about this weekend?
Well, I did Horary Astrology, which is how you ask the universe a question and get an answer. So that's always fun. That's one of my favorites because it's like, where's the lost whatever? And then you find it. And then you feel like a hero astrologer because you told them where their passport was or whatever.
It's practical.
It's very practical astrology, yeah. And it allows that the question, the chart that you cast when you ask the question is a birth chart for the question.
Right.
So you read that. I did one on, I don't even remember. I did a panel lunchtime yesterday on what's coming in 2020, the Great Conjunction or whatever. And then on the first day, I did a workshop in the afternoon on, you know, different predictive techniques. Very cool. You know, like what's in your toolkit.
And I want to just.
And now I'm done. I get to now I get to party. I don't have.
And I did want to. I wanted to. I always liked. I liked anybody who's been in this chair. I'm trying to get a few laughs from them. But you said something pretty funny in your keynote about a gift that someone who had a very strong Eris had given.
Right.
To
their parents,
to their
father
parents.
and the stepmother.
Right. Tell us just a little bit about Eris and a little bit of that story because I thought that was.
It was very funny. So one of the parts of the keynote was that there's going to be 5 Pluto, Saturn, Pluto, Eris squares next year. Right. Saturn's going to square her too, but Pluto's the one we watch because she demoted Pluto way back when, you know, when Pluto got turned into a dwarf. So there's going to be a standoff between the two. And what I encourage people to do is look at the age of their Eris. She looks like a little Mars sign with her shield in the ground.
So she's the feminine Mars.
She's the feminine Mars. Okay. She's Mars's sister. Okay. And she's can be mean. Right. She's got a bloodthirsty edge to her on a bad day, on a good day. But she also is a change agent. So she's very much about change. But she can be tough. And so if you take the degree of Eris in your chart, that's the age when you met her. So for many people, and you take the age, that's the degree, and divide the months by 5. The minutes by 5 gives you the months. So I had one client come, and she was an Aries rising with a Mars and Virgo in the 8th house, which is a pretty strong Mars. Yeah. And a bunch of other Virgo planets. She's a 60s model with that stellium. Wow. So I said, okay, so at this age, you know, what'd you do? And usually people go, I was bullied. Mm-hmm. Well, it's in her first house. Yeah. Uh-oh. So she was the bully. So she says, that was 8th grade and we dissected a cat. Now Mars is dissection and Virgo is small animals. So there's the dissected the cat. It's in the 8th house of death. She said, so what I did was I wrapped the cat up in a bag and I gave it to my father and my stepmother for Christmas. And I went, what'd you do? She said, I gave them a dead cat for Christmas. And it was in a plastic bag. But, you know, imagine under your Christmas tree, you open this present from your stepdaughter and your daughter, and it's a dead cat.
She was pissed.
Now, she's pissed. Now, when I dissected a cat.
She didn't get invited to the wedding, right? Because you told a story about the golden apple. With Eris,
the golden apple not getting invited to the party. I dissected a cat in biology, and when you see a dead cat, they are like this. Yeah. I mean, they're not attractive. It's like they've been gassed and they're not happy. So I'm like, you gave them a dead cat? Yeah. And she starts to laugh. And I'm like, well, what happened? She said, they were pretty upset. Yeah. She laughs again.
I bet.
She said, well, they still talk about it.
Yeah.
So Eris and Pluto are having a fight, you know, and in that time they were in conjunct in her chart. Okay. So she gave them a dead cat. And so we're just going to watch that story. You may find you're in the mood to give somebody a dead cat. And you're like, okay.
That was one of the jokes with Saturn and Pluto is what gifts is Saturn and Pluto going to give us?
Maybe a dead cat. Maybe a frozen dead cat in your refrigerator. You never know.
You never know. I'm not
so if you go over
anything.
to anybody's house and open their freezer and they have a dead cat, you know we're working with a little Eris Pluto.
There you go. There you go.
Right.
All right, Ed. Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you for joining me
so
today.
much.
And where can we find you on the web?
I'm on my website's AstroAnne, ANNE.com. And I do 3 podcasts a week. One is a weekly weather on Sunday. One is a call-in on Wednesday night where I do with a couple other astrologers. And then I do kind of a metaphysical one Thursday mornings. Okay. I do a Twitter feed, Anne Ortelee, and we send out the daily aspects every week. Perfect. You know, on the day they hit. I've had people go, they're lying to you right now, and show it to a used car salesman, and they got another $2,000 off the cost of the car. So they're very effective.
Nice.
And then I do, we just started doing Instagrams and Facebook.
So you've embraced the,
I'm into technology.
You embraced the tech. And
I was a programmer geek for 25 years. Perfect. Before I turned into an astrologer.
Trendsetter.
So I like computers.
Yeah.
And we try, you know, it's not always easy because, you know, it's computers, but we try.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
so
thank you for being here.
Make astrology accessible and make people go, yeah, okay, that's the energy. How do I use it?
Yeah, it's a delivery system. That was one of the things I talked about in my talk about social media.
Yeah, which was great.
How do we get it out there? Thank you.
Yeah. So,
and we've got all these ideas, but we got to have a vehicle to get it out into the world. Mm-hmm. And it's a necessary evil, you know. And it doesn't have to be evil.
I don't think of it as evil. I think of it as people, you resonate to someone and you go, oh, let me go learn from them. Yeah. Or let me go study or understand what they're saying.
It's just part of the changes we're going through.
Yeah, yeah. And also, there was one of the things I also said in the keynote the other day was I went to see Hadestown, which just run a bunch. And if you guys get it in your town, go watch it. Astrology theater, because right. it was Hades and Demeter, Persephone, and Orpheus and Eurydice.
Right.
And so, you know, he's agreed to let Orpheus leave. Right. So he says to Mercury, you know, if I let everybody leave, this will start a precedent. So I have to set it up so he fails.
Uh-oh.
And he goes, I'm going to make him go by himself. Because if we have to go by ourselves, we don't have the courage.
Yeah.
And he'll talk himself out. It's a great line. I should really learn it. But so Orpheus is climbing the hill, and he can't look back or he loses Eurydice. Right. And of course, he gets right to the edge and he looks back. So Mercury steps forward and goes, I told you it was a tragedy. But the takeaway is don't do it by yourself.
That's right.
Do it with someone else. Power of community, power of communication.
Here at the
power
conference,
of communication at the conference.
You know, like connecting
and talking and saying, hey, you know, life is about community and people.
I agree. So good things to know in these divisive times, and they can be.
They can
and
be.
We have to work to bring it together.
Yeah. Well,
that's where the real work is.
That honor that duality is a mirror. There you go. You know, the whole thing about Gemini, I mean, if we're going to do politics, the leader of
Let's not do politics.
No, the leader of the United States is a Gemini.
Yeah.
So what we do with Geminis is we always see the duality. We see the shadow. We see the other.
Well, we do have an election cycle coming up, so I guess we'll
but the duality. We're supposed to see it.
I'm bracing myself because 2016, I just got super exhausted. It was like, oh no. Which celebrity is going to die? How many people are going to be arguing on the internet? And I just, that's something that I've been trying to say is, as we move into this time of change, I'm begging people just to try to be kind and have human decency for one another. That's really where I come down on that side. But no matter where your stance is, human decency and love wins.
It does. And you said that in your lecture. Spencer did a great lecture, by the way. And he said, if you wouldn't say it to the person's face, don't say it on the internet.
That's good advice.
And I was like, that is really good advice.
Yep.
Because I get some nasty emails sometimes. And I'm like, and then I'm like, all right, if I wouldn't say it to their face,
there you go.
I shouldn't say it.
Rules to live by.
So I'm going to take your advice. It's Spencer's advice to me. I'm like, good point. Because my little Mars gets very mad. And then I go, all right. My assistant goes, Ian,
right.
Calm down. Yeah. So it's important. Yeah. But I think you're right. Kindness really wins.
I think so.
Yeah. And I think with Neptune softening up the Jupiter-Saturn, it's really about the shared dream. And with Uranus and Taurus, it's about what is it you're trying to grow. Yeah. Focus on those, and then focus on how to take care of yourself. Look at your moon and make sure you do your moon every day. in a healthy way.
I just did my moon. I just took a nap.
I know you
Like,
did.
I have a Taurus moon.
You came over and you said, I got to take a nap. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah, I took a nap and here I am.
Right.
So,
And you had some good food.
there you go. I had a snack
And you had
a
some
nap.
music.
and some music.
And you're going to hang out with friends.
Chilled out, hang out with some friends.
There you go. Taurus moon
Good to go.
is a wonderful thing.
All right. Well,
All right.
thank you, Anne.
You're
It's been
welcome.
a pleasure.
It was fun. Thank you.
All right.
Yay. Bye, everybody.
See you later.
Join GLAC next year.
Yeah, come.